Well, it was on a game front, it was a calmer day in the house. The big news of the day, of course, was the veto comp and Derek X winning a veto back to back. Derek X definitely proving to be a comp threat, but also probably going to start looking like a comp threat. Don't know if he really should be winning two veto comps in a row. I don't think this is going to make him a target right now because he has definitely had a turnaround with his social game with a lot of people wanting to work with him. But if he wins another competition before jury, there's no way a target doesn't start to form on his back yet again. So with that veto win, it looks like Frenchie and Brittany are staying on the block. Now I need to defend Ozza for a moment because I feel like Twitter's just so dumb. Let's be real. They be going after Ozza for every reason to go after Ozza. First, she wasn't bet a lot, too much, and she was for a while, but she's gotten way better with the social game these last several nights. So I need that to stop because it's not like she's just in bed all day, every day anymore. She likes to lay down, she does, but she's definitely socialized very well lately. But now that she is trying to do something for her own game, people are like, oh no, don't do that. That's dumb. So Ozza basically would rather keep Frenchie and then have Brent put up on the block so Brent could be voted out. And this is a good idea for Ozza's game. It's a good idea for a lot of the women's game because Brent is targeting women, period. And honestly, I don't think Ozza's on the top of his list, but he's on the top of Ozza's list. So, I mean, I could kind of see why people think she's falling for Frenchie's bullshit because she does get stuck talking to him till the wee hours of the morning. That would drive anybody insane, probably. And he kind of used religion to try to tug at her heartstrings. But I think there's more to this. Nobody's giving Ozza credit for knowing what she's doing because she wants to keep her team strong. Having four people on her team is obviously best for her safety. And so I'm just fed up with Twitter's bullshit because, Sarah Beth can do the littlest things and be like, oh my God, Sarah Beth, so smart, so smart. And yet she has one of the biggest blind spots in the game with Alyssa, who doesn't even fuck with her and doesn't even like her. But she wants to protect her team, and that's okay. So just because Ozza has Frenchie on her team, people be going crazy because they're so goddamn emotional. Because the truth is, Brent going over Frenchie is better for a lot of the women's games. Frenchie going at this point is maybe good for the sanity of the house. But on a game level, when you take emotions out of it, Brent going is a way better play. And Tiffany knows this. But at this point, I think she's just over Frenchie and ready for Frenchie to go. I don't know. Tiffany is still did too much for me these last couple days. And I still think she's playing a great game, but I feel like she's playing a short-sighted game. And I feel like people are afraid to critique Tiffany's games. Look, I've praised her for 10 videos in a row on these live feed updates, but I need to start criticizing her game a little because sometimes you can just do too much. Frenchie proved that. So while I don't think Tiffany's like in any trouble in the immediate future, I think she's pretty locked up good till jury right now. I just don't feel like she's setting herself up great in the long run. I think her blind spot, much like Sarah Beth, is Christian and Alyssa. Alyssa is not going to be loyal to the girls in this game. It's just not going to happen. She's been on so many tirades about how she gets along better with men for so many days in a row. It's just not going to happen. So that is just the major blind spot of this proposed alliance between the Queens and the Kings and Derek X. And I just feel like Tiffany and Sarah Beth and Claire are just trying to put a square peg in a circle, and it's just not going to fit with this alliance because they didn't really even talk about this enough with Derek X. Or really Kylan for that matter as HOH, because Kylan has been going back and forth for the past day and a half about how he doesn't know if the slaughterhouse is the best way to go. He doesn't know who to really work with, and I just feel like they're trying to force him to work with this team. And I do feel like he would probably be content working with that team. But yet again, it's an 8-person alliance, super big, and just a lot of pieces in that alliance just being forced to come together, which is why these alliances aren't working, which is fine by me. I hope every big alliance that tries to form is fucking destroyed the next week. Honestly, the way for me to really enjoy this season is if every time a big alliance is formed, somebody wins an HOH that just quickly breaks up that fucking big alliance. That would be a great season. But another part of Tiffany's game, I just still want to reiterate, she's still the best player going in the game right now. But Tiffany is weird with the cookout. Like Derek F is basically fucking throwing some of the cookout under the bus, really, in my opinion. He gets so mad at Kylan for this whole Frenchie debacle, which we'll get to in a while. And Frenchie, threatening to leave and pull out of the game and self evict. But I just don't feel like Tiffany has great communication with the cookout. It started off that she had good communication with Derek F and Azza, but she never talks to Xavier. She did tonight for the first time in a long time, having a game conversation about the cookout. And she never really talks to Hannah a whole lot of game either. And now that the whole debacle with Frenchie's going on, and Derek F wanting to save Frenchie, and Azza also kind of wanting to save Frenchie, I feel like she doesn't really have them to talk to. And this is why I just don't know. These two things together, her creating that big alliance and her fucking not very good communication with the cookout, could be a recipe for disaster for her game. In not right now, but in the future. And I also want to reiterate something about Claire's game. Tiffany is carrying Claire socially, period. Claire is also very smart strategically, but I am telling you, I just do not see it on a personal level with her game. She is definitely being carried by Tiffany. And I even don't think if Kylan really had a choice of who to work with in an alliance, even though they're on the same team, I don't think Kylan would pick Claire as one of those people. I guess I'll just talk about Frenchie's newest meltdown real quick. At first, for a few hours of the night, he was really content, allegedly, with going home. He's going to have so much fun before he leaves. But as the night went on, of course, he spiraled. And then he had a chat with Whitney, and Whitney just gave him all the smoke because she called him out in all of his lies. And he got emotional, started saying some weird things that indicated he had a crush on her, which, of course, I talked about days ago when he was upset that, she wouldn't cuddle with him, or that she said she wouldn't cuddle with him. But after this conversation, Frenchie started spiraling and told Derek F that he wanted to self-evict, threatened that he was going to self-evict. And that, of course, sent Derek F into a tailspin. He was feeling the vapors about Frenchie leaving, and Derek F has just been so pathetic these last couple days and just really going down with Frenchie's ship. Derek F has really just been around Frenchie for 2 days straight now. Not good for his game in any way. Derek F is lucky he has the cookout to fucking fall back on, but we'll see where that goes. Something I've noticed about Derek X is I don't really think he has people that genuinely have his back outside of Hannah. And I would say Azza too, but they don't talk enough game, and I wish they did talk more game. I don't know. I feel like Tiffany and Kylan use Derek X for his power because Derek X is good at fucking competitions, but they only strategize with him a lot after competitions or after he wins competitions. I do love the duo of Tiffany and Derek X, but I do think there is I don't know, Tiffany wants to protect A little bit too many people. Tiffany is wearing herself thin, spreading herself thin, like I said yesterday. And yeah. And speaking of Hannah and Derek X, it seems like Brent is in a cock blocking stage with those two. And Derek X and Hannah fans stands were going a little crazy today because of all of this. Brent definitely has a borderline stalking issue with Hannah going on. But Hannah has really came up with this plan that I think that she wants to get close to Brent or make it look like she's getting close to Brent. Hannah and Kylan had a good talk today about the cookout, about how they all need to stay loyal to each other, but how they need to spread out to other people to make it look like they're close to those people. Everybody was giving Kylan too much credit for this because it was actually Derek F. and Tiffany who came up with this plan at the beginning of the game. People give Kai a little too much credit on social media for my liking. And I'll get to more of that in a second. But I just want to talk about more how Hannah, I think, is just feeding into Brent's ego now to make it look like they're getting close. But it is kind of possibly cock blocking Derek X and Hannah. However, the streets are talking. We might get a soap opera, and I hope we do, because when French is out of the house, these people might be a little boring. Because when they're together just playing games and shit, it's not the funnest feeds. So I hope this soap opera continues, because the Twitter streets are saying that Azza likes Xavier, Hannah likes Derek X, Derek X likes Azza, Brent likes Hannah, and then there's the Whitney and Brent stuff, the Alyssa, Brent, Christian stuff, Xavier and his simping. There's a lot going on in the possible hookup department. I don't think any of these women actually want to get in showmances, but I would love to see some soap opera hecticness out of these people on the feeds. Because today was honestly boring on the feeds outside of Frenchie's meltdown and Derek F looking like he was spiraling with him. Last, I just want to kind of talk about Kylan and Brittany, and once again drive home how people are way too fucking rude to Brittany, both on the game and outside on social media. Today, there was a super awkward moment where Xavier was basically being caught in lies by Azza regarding the slaughterhouse. She was trying to get him to admit that he was in the slaughterhouse, which Xavier isn't going to do, which is just dumb, honestly. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Xavier's game. I go back and forth. Like, he's in a good enough spot, but like I said on the ranking, he's not in as good as a spot as he thinks he is. But anyway, Brittany walked in on that. Xavier was super rude to her, basically saying, "We're talking," and she awkwardly had to leave. And I just feel like both Kylan and Brittany are neurodivergent, but Kylan, by the fan base, gets babied as a 30-year-old man. He gets babied by the fan base. And they like to project that he's playing this great game. And look, as a person, like I keep saying, I love Kylan as a person. Kylan was my preseason pick to win this game on his social game alone. And if Kylan makes the end, he probably wins because of his social game and just being a nice guy. But can we stop acting like he's a great strategist and that he is not an emotional mess at times? Because he is. And I don't like how the fan base just tears down Brittany for either being emotional or being awkward. And even the same to Azza today when she was trying to play her own game and having a bit of a cry later in the day. It's just like you all could baby Kylan, but then when the women are doing something, it's bad. Gets on my fucking nerves. Outside of that, though, nothing super big went down in the game. There's still the possible new big alliance forming between the kings and the queens. And Frenchie is still the target to go home. And that about sums up the current state of the house.